Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
Yeehaw! Welcome to the Schnitzel Boys IV. We had MLS Decision Day action, plus German action, and we got USA-Mexico coming up. We got all sorts of action on this, our fourth edition of the Schnitzel Boys Live. Bjorn, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you, Stefan?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited because it was a really big week this week. We had all sorts of stuff, didn't we?
Decision Day was very exciting. If you're into that sort of thing, Major League Soccer, playoffs, that kind of, those shenanigans.
I'm into that kind of thing. Yeah. This is the part of the season where it gets really, really exciting. And then, of course, we had a bunch of German stuff. We had some Champions League. We had one Jesse Marsch getting a great victory, probably his first victory with a big team. He was all...
Jetzt ist es ich gegen ihn oder euch oder egal. It's us against them.
Boom, and he pulled it off. Us against them. Us wins, them loses. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We had... other than soccer, what the heck happened this week? Not much, right? It was just a soccer week.
It's just, well, I hosted a sleepover for nine 13-year-old girls. So that could take a podcast of its own.
I was going to say that must be incredibly trying.
Yeah, it was apocalyptic. Yes.
So give us a run. I'm just some dude, like when I was in middle school or whatever, I guess the girls, because I would go to my friend's house and then their sisters have sleepovers. And, they would do like a Britney Spears party or something. Like what? Give us a rundown. Give us a rundown of what like a 13-year-old sleepover is like. Like what do they do? Is it Ariana Grande? I'm so old and out of the loop.
Ariana Grande? No, I don't know. I don't really. I mean, there's just a lot of TikTok. There's a lot of production. Back then it was just consumption. Now there's production. Like videos are constantly posted and created, and
they're making the TikToks.
Yeah, they're making the TikToks, and it's just a never-ending stream of content. Yes, that the girls.
Well, that's not a bad thing, right? To put yourself out there, to be productive. It sounds like a productive thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's not curing cancer, but
it's certainly. I do say that all the time. If all that energy was just focused on solving the world's problems, we may be further along with that. But no, it's true. I mean, I agree. It's certainly, when I was younger. It was the barrier of entry was so much higher, and you would really overthink everything you're doing. Now it is kind of, I do kind of like this idea of just like, just put it out there and see what happens, kind of like we're doing with the Schnitzel Boys.
Yeah, here we are, Schnitzel Boys. We got a couple viewers with us live on Monday nights, also available in podcast form. I'm going to comment right now. Comment on the post. Give us something to talk about. We'll talk about it. We, of course, have our own agenda, as we have German stuff to do. And, of course, we have a lot of American stuff to get to. Whoop! America is whenever I press the exclamation point, that plays. So I need to...
that was not on purpose. Okay.
No, I just wrote a comment with an exclamation point and just played that song. But it's all good. All right, do you want to... We usually do Germany the first half and then America the second half, right?
Yeah,
America the
sounds
Beautiful.
good.
If only there was a way to run down and organize
If
all sort of
only.
the German...
If only there was. How could there be?
How could there be? All right. We're just playing with you. I think we got a little something here. We're experimenting, but we'll see if this works. We'll see if the music is long enough. And
now it's time for the German Soccer Rundown.
Some midweek action, Champions League action. Wolfsburg defeat Red Bull Salzburg 2-1. Bayern München destroy Benfica 5-2. And Dortmund once again falling to Ajax Amsterdam 3-1. And RB Leipzig and PSG fought it out to a hard-fought 2-2 draw. Over to the Europa League, where Eintracht Frankfurt beat Olympiacos from Greece 2-1, and Bayer Leverkusen crushed Real Betis 4-0. On Friday, matchday 11 kicked off with Mainz and Gladbach finishing 1-1. Mainz scoring a goal against the run of play to steal a tie. On Saturday, Bayern defeated Freiburg 2-1 to finally end their unbeaten run. Arminia Bielefeld beat Stuttgart 1-1. VfL Bochum continues their run of form with a 2-0 victory over Hoffenheim. Wolfsburg continue their great form under new coach Florian Kohfeldt with a 1-0 win over Augsburg. And the big game on Saturday had Jesse Marsch's RB Leipzig defeat Borussia Dortmund 2-1. On Sunday, Hertha tied Bayern 04 1-1. Köln and Union Berlin played to a 2-2 draw, and Eintracht Frankfurt capped off matchday 11 with a 2-1 win over Greuther Fürth. And that is your German Soccer Rundown.
Nice.
All right, that worked. I tried that.
Well timed too. That was quite. That was. You'll never do that again. That's amazing.
Yeah, I held out the end a little bit. Yeah, it'll be like clockwork. We'll start timing this out really well.
Great. Yeah. What do you want to talk about? The what is it with Dortmund and Ajax?
I don't know. It was 4-1 or it was 4-0 last week, and then it was 4-1 the week before. I mean, the Champions League games. You know, I guess the interesting thing is that sorry, I was just permanently banned from the MLS subreddit. I can't post there ever again, so I have to go on and apologize. I'm trying to get the word out here, and they're mad at me, so I have to figure that out. Sorry, I was just a little sidetracked. The RB Leipzig PSG game was a pretty cool 2-2 draw. Again, signs of Leipzig just going from strength to strength a little bit. The Dortmund game was 4-0 last week, and it was 3-1 this week. I think the big thing with Dortmund is without Haaland, are they even a winnable team? You know what I mean? It seems like no Haaland, no fun. No Haaland, no party.
Yeah, he's definitely a lot of their offense, and he helped your boy Jesse out this weekend by not showing up. Big win for Leipzig on Sunday. If we want to go backwards, it's that was probably, like you were saying, Jesse Marsch's biggest success so far.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like just to touch on the midweekend real quick. Wolfsburg won, so they're still in great form. So Wolfsburg's coaching change was great. Florian Kohfeldt is really like he went from a relegation team, and then his reward after relegating Bremen was to be given the keys to a Champions League club. So he got those keys, and he did well.
Failing upward.
Another solid game from John Brooks. We'll maybe touch on him a little bit more later. But John Brooks, he has been sort of getting back to his form, thankfully. And then, cutting over to the weekend, the big game was RB Leipzig against Borussia Dortmund. Now, RB Leipzig, since March, this season, under Marsch, has not beaten a team of equal or greater value yet. They lost to Manchester City. They lost and tied to PSG. They lost to Bayern München. They just lost to all the other teams that they themselves are in the same world as, that they spend money to be in. So today was, or over the weekend, the win over Dortmund was a sort of a message to be like, okay, we can do this. Now, granted, Dortmund was without Haaland again, and Jude Bellingham just is enough, and young Gio Reyna is still injured, unfortunately. So Dortmund has some injury problems. But, you know, that's Dortmund's fault for being so thin and not having any depth. RB Leipzig with Christopher Nkunku. Is it Christopher or Christian? Nkunku, the young French sensation, just has been really going from strength to strength for that club. He had such a great game. Did you see that double spinny move he did? He spinned it back once, spinned it back second, and hit the post. It's like, dang, like who needs? I mean, in a few months we might be talking Nkunku, not Haaland, you know. What a great find for RB Leipzig. The Red Bull scouting department strikes again.
Yeah, he's been great for them.
Yeah, he's like 18 or 19 or something, crushing it. And they have a very dominant Tyler Adams also having a great game. He is proven to be a man with a capital M. And he had like one or two. He had such a great assist there in the beginning that almost became a goal, and he was all over that field. He just had a great game overall. And I think RB Leipzig could have. I think they got that goal was called offside. They had a few other opportunities. They were they were playing to their game the way they've been developing it, which is quick on the counter, quick turnaround, quick transition, and just getting it right up there. No nonsense, direct passing right into the box. And it worked. Dortmund couldn't handle them. So a great win overall for RB Leipzig, 2-1 over Dortmund.
Yeah, and it was Paulsen, he's been really with them from the fourth division. Yeah, and so it was great to see him get that goal. And he seemed happy about it too.
Yeah, he's a good fan favorite. I'm just happy all around. And in the post game interviews, Oliver Mitzlaff was on Sportstudio, which is a big German sort of sports soccer broadcast Leo thing. One of theirs, like it's like the German version of SportsCenter, kind of. Or it's the German version of the Best Damn Sports Show, which is an old show on.
Yeah, it's more. I was going to say
secondary one.
It's really more of a talk show soccer themed. Yeah, it's more. That's what I remember. The Saturday night rundown used to be. You watch sports show to get the results and the highlights. Then you eat dinner. Then there's the Saturday night variety programming, whether it's Wetten das or Verstehen Sie Spaß or one of those kind of family variety shows. And then afterwards, if you were old enough and you got to stay up, you would watch the Sportstudio, where you would see highlights again, but with a little bit more analysis and some guests and some longer conversations. So that was the Saturday night.
I guess it's the Tonight Show of soccer. The
kind of
with Jay Leto, so.
Right?
No, but they had Christian Streich on this past weekend. But anyway, they had Oliver Mitzlaff on, who's the sporting director of Red Bull, and Red Bull's like, yeah, I stayed quiet on all the criticism. I've been a fan of Jesse Marsch the whole time, and blah 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 blah. You know, even though whether he was speaking out of his butt or not. Leaves to be seen, but all I know is the pressure is a little bit off. And I also, doing my research, I led the Leipzig sports paper, Sportbuzzer, which is the local sports paper, and pretty much they said that either it was Jesse Marsch, I believe, or someone from Red Bull said it went from not everything is bad to not everything is good, is the phrase. So essentially it was like 5-alarm chili. It was like, nothing, we can't get this, we can't do that. Now that they're winning and so forth, now it's like, okay, now there's still a couple things that still need to improve, but so it's heading in the right direction overall. And RB Leipzig are now find themselves in 5th spot, very close to the top 4, which is definitely their minimum expectation is a top four place. And it's looking good. So we'll see if they can keep a momentum going.
That's a very German attitude, isn't it? It's like, don't get too
100%.
Don't get too ahead of you're not never as good as you think you are, never as bad as you think you are. Yeah.
Do you ever and I don't know if you ever saw Arrested Development, they have that scene where they were excited that they went from like trash to don't buy or something. They had a big party. They're like, don't buy, which was an improvement for them.
From trash.
That's RB Leipzig. It's like we went from everything is terrible to not everything is terrible to not everything is great. Yay! Like that's their upgrade. So overall, well done for RB Leipzig. Bayern München defeated Freiburg. Freiburg is no longer undefeated, so there are no more undefeated teams left in the Bundesliga. Freiburg losing 2-1 as the Bayern juggernaut continues.
If they only lose to Bayern all season, they're doing pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah, they're not doing bad at all. Wolfsburg got a goal with young Nemeka, who was an English youth international that they converted to, because he was a dual national. And now he was called into Germany camp to represent Germany.
Oh, that's right.
He got a great goal over the weekend to continue their winning streak. Ever since Florian Kohfeldt's been in, Wolfsburg has won each of their games, I believe. So they went from losing to winning like that.
Is he the number 9? Is he the number 9 we need?
Yeah, he's. I think he's actually, his number is number 10, but he is a number 9. So I don't know yet. It's still young. He's only scored 3 goals, I think, for Wolfsburg. So it's funny. We're doing to Germany the same thing we do to the U.S. It's like Rico Pepi, he's our savior, even though he's only played like 10 professional games in his life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
The same thing with Nemeka.
I don't think we need a savior, but we do need somebody who wants to be in the box, perhaps like Timo Werner hanging out by the corner flag. Gnabry also more of a winger, really. Somebody there is that spot in the middle.
Timo Werner is slowly becoming the German Josh Sargent.
Wow, that's harsh. That's a little harsh on Timo, I would say.
That is hard. Well, he's not. Timo's not exactly number 9. He's sort of been hanging out in the wings a little bit, and sometimes he scores, sometimes he doesn't. You're right. It is harsh. Timo can be in better form.
There was that cartoon in the. Where was it? In a French newspaper, and there was a guy who was in front of a firing squad, and he was asked what his last wish was, and he said, "I would like Timo Werner to shoot."
There you go. That's the kind of fun ribbing that they, that
those
great
French
newspaper guys, those boys. I was gonna say, speaking of French, this is a little free for later. I'll talk about it later. But essentially, I was at the LA Galaxy game, and they have a young French striker named Kevin Cabral who was so close to scoring the whole game, and I was just like, he's gonna score. And spoiler alert, he didn't score.
He did not.
But then again, that's another thing. Okie dokie. The other big game is Bochum. Do you want to talk about that?
Was it a big game? I mean, I would love to talk about that. It seems like I need to just sort of very cautiously perhaps adjust my expectations upward ever so slightly. I mean, I really was down on them after the first few weeks of the season, because it just really didn't seem like they had any kind of offense that would be enough to keep them in the league. But they've really found a way. And on the game on Sunday really went from a complete snooze fest for 55, 60 minutes. It really, nothing happened. And then it just went totally off the rails. We had Soma Novotny came off the bench out of nowhere. He got relatively little time in the second Bundesliga last year, and hasn't played much this year either. And he came off the bench and scored the first goal, then got a penalty, and it was things
crazy
went wild.
Penalty, by the way, Grillitsch,
crazy, yeah.
Grillitsch just shoves him for no reason. Like, the penalty wasn't a foul. It's just after some sort of whatnot in the ball. I think he lost the ball or something. Grillitsch, or they run into each other or something. Grillitsch just stands up and just shoves him with his arms.
I think he took offense to Novotny kind of wanting a penalty for that he really didn't deserve, and then
then he gave him one.
Yeah, but then he just gave one away, and
then riddle me this: why did the goalkeeper take the penalty?
Well, I mean, in retrospect, that clearly was a poor idea. But he took the winning penalty a week prior in the cup, and so I guess he was feeling he was letting it ride. He was feeling emboldened, and then really shanked it over the crossbar in the worst way. The goalie,
he ain't no Hans Jörg Butt.
My God, I mean the goalie went completely the other way, and he just shanked it, and really made it much more exciting than it needed to be, because Bochum was very much in control. We hit the crossbar and the post one time, and but then in stoppage time, the opposing goalie, came up to try and score the equalizer, and then what you very rarely see was the empty net goal scored from midfield. Yeah.
So this is Hoffenheim now. So it's a Bundesliga game early in the season. I guess you have nothing to lose, but you don't usually see the goalkeeper being put up at the end like that for a game like that. Usually only do see that for like semifinal appearances, things like that.
I think
but
these
more power
days,
to him.
These days, if you're down, I mean, yeah, nothing to lose, and it also doesn't happen all that often, surprisingly. But in this case, it did. The guy. So
as
took
a
shot.
rundown, the keeper was in the box to do that last minute equalizer. They missed it. Bochum's on a counter. The goal on the other side of the field is just wide open. So from 62 meters out, which I did not translate into yards, that would be like 70 yards out before the halfway line, he just kicks it. And so many times we have seen that, and it usually misses the goal. They just can't hit it on target. Goes over. But this one slowly and right in the goal, bounces, and boom, goes in the goal.
Yeah.
So it's a goal from 62 meters away.
Trickles in, one has to say. Like, it was definitely was a very slow roller, but eventually it made it. It was looking good from the beginning, and very very exciting. And now I think 12th place, is that where we're at? 12th or 13th. I mean, it really bodes well the way this team this team is just finding a way, scoring goals.
12th place, right above Hertha and Eintracht Frankfurt and Stuttgart.
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I still think that is probably the highest will be this year.
Big positive. If maybe let it ride.
No, it's not all good. No, it's not all good, Stefan. even though I guess it wasn't all bad before, but now it's not all good. It's still the offense still looked pretty sputtering for most of it, but they'll find a way. And I'm excited. It's still, I was reading Kicker today, and they had a poll on their front page. Is Bochum does Bochum's presence enhance the Bundesliga? And it's like, why even ask that question? It's like, how is that
like,
even?
Is it? It's like you go to a party, be like, hey everyone, quick thing, let's just do a quick poll. Is it good that Stefan's at this party or not? Let's just do a quick show of hands.
It's like they got the points. They're like, yeah, that's crazy. I mean, 75% of people said yes, but still, like, why? This goes back. I think this all goes back to Uli Hoeneß. At some point, this was many years ago. I think probably in the 80s or 90s, there was some talk about contracting the Bundesliga because there were too many games, and they were thinking about reducing it to 16 teams. And Uli Hoeneß famously said that teams like Bochum really didn't have a place. And of course, there was an outcry, and he had to apologize. And
you know what's funny about that? In the late 90s and early 2000s, there was a push to increase it to 20 teams.
I guess
to get more clubs in the top flight for money.
It's always
Uli Hoeneß also famously wanted to extend the halftime break to 20 minutes because he said extra 5 minutes would increase in 200,000 euros of sausage sales or something like that. So, so that's Uli Hoeneß for you. The dude has a big mouth, so much so it's sent him to jail for 5 years. Or
15 minutes, not enough to eat a sausage. 20 minutes, I'm definitely in. No question about it. Yeah.
I mean, he pitched it, the Bundesliga just denied it. They're like,
how did he? I wonder how this was determined.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. He had his numbers out. He had his research. There was a sausage research firm. I don't know, but that's
if I have 5 extra minutes, I'll have another sausage.
I think maybe the thought is like people were. I don't know what the thought is, because like people just go buy a sausage and then miss the 5 minutes of the game. That happens all the time.
Right.
But anyway, so Bochum plays Bayer Leverkusen next week, and Bayer Leverkusen, despite their 4-0 shellacking of Real Betis midweek, they're on a 3-game. They were on like a 4-game winning streak. That's not the right term, but they lost 3 and tied 1. They've been a little bit of a skid, Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah, they were looking very good early, and then they really haven't been lately.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. Maybe
I don't know. Are we gonna
coach is on the hot seat?
I think
maybe it's time for them to hire Greg Vanny or something. Need to get another American in there and. About
Greg Van.
You know what?
Wow.
Bob Bradley's contract is up. Maybe Bob Bradley will go coach Bayer Leverkusen, which I would pay serious money to go see.
Is he allowed in Europe again? Bob Bradley.
I think his ban is slowly rescinding, much like my ban on the MLS subreddit. There is a way around that. All right, cool. And then anything else in Germany other than we got the national team break coming up?
Yeah,
like I said, Young Nemeka gets the call up. 4 goalkeepers, which is weird to me. Bernd Leno does not play at Arsenal anymore, which I must have missed. Bernd Leno is the second choice keeper at Arsenal. Do you know that?
Yeah, Aaron Ramsdale has replaced him, and he is clearly better. I hate to say.
Yeah. Bernd Leno, like Ethan Horvath, needs to find a new club.
He's been Ramsdale's been great, so he's not going to get that spot back easily.
No, well, good for Ramsdale and good for Arsenal because they need all the help they can get. But Bernd Leno might have to find his way out, but he still finds himself with the German national team despite not getting minutes at Arsenal.
Yeah, why do they have 4 keepers? I guess Kevin Trapp was injured and now he's back, and Yogi.
But Kevin Trapp. Yeah, maybe just to. But they only have 2 games, I think. They got
Yogi doesn't want anyone to feel left out. Not Yogi. What am I talking about? Hansi. Oh my God. I'm living in the past.
Yogi's gone. Yogi left a few months ago.
That is it.
Well, but in your defense, he's like he was the coach for 100 years or whatnot. But
I mean, these games are not really.
Yeah.
They're already qualified. They're not really counting. So this is, if you're going to try something out, this is the time.
Yeah, there's not much to touch on. They're going to play Young Nemeka, and they got 2 soft games. It's Liechtenstein, and I believe, is it Armenia?
It's Armenia, I think. Yeah, I think Armenia is the last one that looked at some point like it. When Armenia was doing well, it looked like this could be a big game, but now everything is already decided as far as Germany is concerned. So this is the time to experiment because there aren't really a lot of friendlies on the schedule between Nations League and all the qualifying. And so this is just an opportunity to give people a chance. And
the World Cup is less than a year out now, or around a year out now. It starts this time next year. So, it's the clock is ticking. You only got a year out.
Yeah, it's coming.
All right. Is it time?
Is it time? Time for what? What should we? Oh, yes.
Is it time to to do a jump and a skip over the fence over to this side of the
it's time
here it is.
For the American Soccer Rundown.
The American Soccer Rundown. We will start in the East where the New York Red Bulls, your team, earned a playoff spot with a point on the road at Nashville. That game ending 1-1. Same as NYCFC and the Philadelphia Union, also 1-1, despite NYCFC being down a man for most of the game. Orlando City beat Montreal 2-0 with great goals from Mendes and Daryl Dike to earn their spot and eliminate Montreal. Columbus beat a limp Chicago 2-0. Not enough for them to get through. Same for DC United. They beat Toronto 3-1, also just barely missing the playoffs this year. Atlanta made it, beating Cincinnati 2-1, confirmed their place. And finally, Inter Miami beat the Supporters Shield winning New England on the road which really meant nothing because they're out and their season is over. In the West, it seemed like was going to be a two-way race between the Seattle Sounders and Sporting KC, but Seattle only managed to tie against Vancouver. Vancouver sneaking into the playoffs. Sporting Kansas City also didn't make it. They lose to RSL as your adopted German, Damir Kreilach, scoring at the death. And RSL making it. The West was won completely surprisingly by Robin Fraser's Colorado Rapids, who beat LAFC 5-2. 2 goals from Jonathan Lewis. And with the Galaxy and Minnesota battling to a 3-3 draw, that means both LA teams missed the playoffs. San Jose played to a 1-1 draw with FC Dallas, and that meant Chris Wondolowski's final game. He finally hangs it up. And Portland defeating Austin FC 3-0 to end their inaugural season. And that is your American soccer rundown, with the music having run out a while ago.
We're still figuring it out, but that right there was a great rundown. A really exciting week of action for the MLS. Like a game of musical chairs. Everyone trying to get their way into the playoffs. And a couple of teams missed out. Montreal, Columbus, DC, among them. LA Galaxy, among them. So I went to 2 games this week. I went to the LAFC Vancouver game on Tuesday, and I went to the LA Galaxy Minnesota game yesterday. Both really fun games. Really nice nights out.
The Galaxy game was crazy. Yeah.
Crazy game. 6 goals, missed penalty. And the funny thing about the Galaxy was the whole time they were in the whole time. You know, they're pulling back. Leggett with that great goal before halftime. Chicharito with a brace. And, you know, a point was going to do it for them. And then at the death, Damir Kreilach, the German Croatian American
he's not
superstar.
At all. He's not.
I know he's Croatian, but Kreilach is German enough for me. It's a German podcast, so when you hear everyone's German a little bit, so the Deutsche Kroate Damir Kreilach scoring, and we're talking about MVP. Damir Kreilach is also on that short list. He scores all of Real Salt Lake's goals. He scores them when they need him. And I just never been to a place that is so deflated. You know, like when the last whistle, it was like whistle, the lights turned off in the stadium for some reason, and everyone was just quiet. You could hear a pin drop. It was crazy because we had a good game. The Galaxy had a pretty decent game. Now, granted, they should have won it to guarantee it. However, you know, they were home, they were point, they scored, and it was you could just hear a pin drop. Everyone's just like, boo, after a minute when they realized what happened. And they're just booed. It was just such a weird environment to be in the last game of the season. And you know what's funny about LAFC and LA Galaxy? I think it's the same with all the MLS clubs. They were both quote unquote fan appreciation night. So when the game was over at LAFC, and they also were essentially eliminated on Tuesday, they lost. What was it? They lose 2-0 to Vancouver or something? No, what was that game?
Who, LAFC? They
LAFC
lost in
Vancouver. Was that 1-0?
No, the LAFC lost to the Rapids. That's
yeah, you're right. It was 1-1 on Tuesday.
Right.
So it was just a 1-1 home draw. And after both games, the teams had to do a procession where they went around the field and waved to the fans. And
awkward.
And it's like bad timing. Yeah, awkward. And then after LAFC, they had like a fireworks show. And at LAFC, Will Ferrell was there with the Hawk, and the whole cast of Ted Lasso was there. You know, they make a big event of it, but it's like, this wasn't great. So it was just two draws for the last home games, and LAFC getting that 5-2 shellacking by Colorado Rapids.
By the
so
Rapids,
it was just a crazy environment.
Yeah. The Rapids decided, if no one else wants to win the West, we'll take it. I mean, it's really been over the last few weeks. Both Kansas City and the Sounders had so many opportunities to wrap up the first spot, and they just kept and even till the last day. I mean, the RSL, I wouldn't have put a lot of money on RSL winning on the road at SKC when they were still playing for a first round bye. I mean,
with Bobby Wood on the field, anything's possible, you know. But I think it was all part of Robin Fraser's master plan. It's just like this is the plan all along. You know what club Robin Fraser was an assistant coach at once upon a time?
At the Red Bulls?
The New York Red Bulls before he left.
Oh, before he went
to Toronto. Yeah, that's right. I think when Mike
interesting.
Pickey was fired.
So
he fired. He was mad.
He got to Toronto before Chris Armas did?
Yeah. Toronto, for those of you who don't know, is a New York Red Bulls graveyard. So a lot of people, Ali Curtis, Chris Armas, Robin Fraser, when really great, talented people get fired for essentially no reason at the New York Red Bulls, Toronto scoops them up because they're like, that was stupid of them, and scoop them up. And they've been right almost every time. So
what? The Chris Armas? I don't know.
I said almost every time.
That didn't go all that well.
Ali Curtis is a decent GM. Robin Fraser has proven to be a great coach.
He's still playing.
Coach.
He's still paying like $10 million to Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore last season. Is that a?
Well, that's Toronto, and also Ali Curtis didn't do any of that. That's Tim Bezpachenko, and I think they're about to get. And Josie's scoring. Come on now, Josie's scoring. Is he scoring enough to warrant $3 million a year? Maybe not, but he's scoring goals. But anyway, so that was my experience. Did you go to the NYCFC? Did you go to the NYCFC
did,
Philly
yes.
game?
I did go to the NYCFC Philly game, and it was nice. It was also Fan Appreciation Day. I won a team signed jersey.
Really? You won a team signed jersey?
Yeah, my seat was announced on the Jumbotron. I was watching the game. I didn't even pay attention. Somebody else had to point it out to me. And I got a jersey that was signed by everyone. It was I felt very appreciated.
Where is it? Is it at home right now?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I should have.
The same.
Should have shown it up next week for the when before the playoffs actually start. I will. I don't think I'll wear it, but I will show it.
No, good. That's so cool. What kind of chance is that? It's like a 1 in 20,000 chance, right?
I think. Yeah.
I always sit in the nosebleeds, so I'm nowhere near those kinds of things. They never give that stuff out to the nosebleeds.
I think it's every. I do have pretty good seats. I mean, as an early adopter, you have some privileges. Yeah.
Perks.
But the game also was exciting. It was nice to see the stadium not full, but definitely better attended than recently. That was good. And Gideon Salalem, formerly of Arsenal, got his first start really ever in his entire time of NYCFC and repaid the coaches. I mean, he got this because Keaton Parks, I guess, was a last-minute injury scratch, and so he got his start and repaid the trust with getting a red card 25 minutes in for a pretty poor tackle, which I don't think he wasn't really on purpose, but it was definitely looked bad. At first got a yellow, and then when the ref gets called over to the screen, nothing good will come of that. And and he was sent off, and then 3 minutes later we fell behind, and this really would have had bad consequences. We would have not had a road game, not have a home game in the playoff if we had lost this game. So, but in the second half, with a man down, we managed to come back. Tati Castellanos got a header goal, and also not only guaranteed a home game, but also secured himself the Golden Boot, which has never gone to an NYCFC player. And so that's very exciting.
Never. The 100 years of the NYCFC history.
In the 7 years of history.
But it was 19 goals, right? Gives him the Golden Boot. I think.
It was this year. This year it only took 19 goals. He had to. Ola Kamara got 2, and so he won on the assist tiebreaker. He had more assists than Kamara.
And also we have MLS assists here. We got secondary assists too. I don't know if they can.
Yeah.
But they're a thing we talk about. You know what? I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know why we're a little drop heavy.
We are thinking. We're thinking. What are you thinking about?
That was LA Galaxy. And that's just some of the teams. The LA Galaxy. The Minnesota missed a penalty. And they had an own goal. So they really shot themselves in the foot. Good that NYCFC are going to host Atlanta. Good that there's a good crew coming there. Maybe it'll be close to a full house against Atlanta. That's going to be a big game with Joseph Martinez coming by. You know, Atlanta are no pushovers.
Well, on the other hand, Atlanta has only only one win against playoff teams this season out of 15 tries. So I mean, of all the, you know, there was Orlando was a possibility at some point on Sunday, and the Red Bulls even at some point when they were winning looked like we
that
could
would
have
been crazy.
And so of all of those possibilities, I think I'm happiest with Atlanta. I mean, we have shown that we can beat anyone and we can lose to anyone on the right day. So we'll see. But
That's
yeah, the
what
matchups
MLS is about, baby.
The matchups are your Red Bulls that you felt so uncertain about that they wouldn't even make it.
New York Red Bull. We had a midweek tie against Atlanta, I believe, right, 1-1.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, and then we had a 1-1 tie.
No, it was
at Nashville as well.
It was scoreless, right? The Atlanta game.
Oh, was it scoreless? Hold on.
You got the Atlanta. I mean, it was. I actually watched the second half of it, and it was kind of stunning how
it was scoreless.
How
how the New York Red Bulls were.
Well, that's one way to put it. Or how destructive Atlanta was in their approach. I'm like, are they really just that much? Do they think they're that much less good than the Red Bulls? I think they didn't have a shot on goal until stoppage time, and
the Red Bulls figured it out.
And we're really just bunkering the entire game, and that was just interesting to see.
I mean, I guess I saw a different perspective, maybe because I see it through Red Bull colored glasses, but that's some of the best soccer I've seen the Red Bulls play all year. Now, granted, they can't finish. You know, Patrick Klimala got suspended because he threw the ball on the ground angrily, so he couldn't play against Nashville, our highest paid player. Thank you very much. And he also can't buy a goal. But he was, other than that, he was doing pretty decent. And the New York Red Bulls just had the ball the whole time, and they had so many opportunities to score, they just could not finish, which again is my biggest sort of note for the off season, is like you got to get more clinical. And I think their defense is tight. The New York Red Bulls have, I think, tied for the most clean sheets in the league. They have the less, they're one of the best defensive records in the league. They're moving the ball well. They're creating opportunities pretty well, pretty okay, and it's just no one can just finish that last bit. So we need more of a finisher. You know, like coffees for closers, coffees for finishers, like from Glenn Ross. So we need that in the off season. But we're striking hot at the right time. Maybe we can get ourselves a little deeper on the playoffs. We'll see. We had a great tie in Nashville. Caden Clark is back to playing as a gun for Omer Fernandez on the field. And honestly, I kind of prefer Omer Fernandez over Patrick Klimala in general. So Klimala being suspended, for me, is a little bit of a blessing in disguise. Orlando, which was 2 spots out, scored 2 really great goals, beat Montreal 2-0 to give themselves a spot in the playoffs. And Montreal, after dominantly playing us last week, if you looked at that game and thought who's going to make the playoffs, you think Montreal. Unfortunately, the New York Red Bulls made the cut, and Montreal, unfortunately, did not. So I apologize up north to our friends in Montreal. Not for lack of trying, though. But did you see that great goal from Mendez from Orlando?
Yeah.
Boom. Curling in. And then Daryl Dike got himself a last-minute goal to remind everyone that he's still around.
I was going to say, he's had a pretty quiet season, right? Most of the
ever since the summer, yeah.
Everybody thought once he came back to Orlando, he was just gonna light it up, but that has not really happened.
Yeah, Orlando's tougher than Barnsley. Who knew? Who knew?
I knew.
Colorado. So who has? You do. You know all the things. You know why you know all the things? Because you are out of this world with your predictions and your knowledge. And I just wanted to use that X-Files drop because I love that song. I'm a big fan of the show. So the East ends up being New York. Red Bulls are going to head to Philadelphia. NYCFC is going to host Atlanta. And Orlando is, remind me, what was the other one?
At Nashville. They're on the road in Nashville. And then New
Nashville
England
has not. Yeah, Nashville is. I think Nashville hasn't won their last 3 games. So Orlando's coming in hot. So those are just going to be some fun games.
Yeah, I mean, and then the winner of Atlanta NYCFC will play the New England Revolution, who have the bye, because they finished first.
That's how
the playoffs work.
Out of form Revs. Yeah, they're going to be out of practice. 3 weeks removed from playing a competitive game. So
we'll see. We'll see. Not to get ahead of ourselves. We only have one. We've only survived one round of playoffs in our 100-year history.
150 years now. I just Googled it.
That's right.
150, I meant. You guys, ever since George Washington crossed the Delaware,
New York City
first
FC
time
has
NYCFC
had a hard time
kicked the ball.
Playoffs. Yes.
Yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun. The Red Bulls Philly game is going to be a tight affair. Philly as hosts in great form, they'll definitely be favorites. But the New York Red Bulls, I mean, that's a 50-50 to me too. I don't see where we can't scrape out a 1-0 win or go into overtime. You know, it's time for some playoff craziness. In the West, Colorado, of course, made their way in.
Colorado gets the
SKC. Now, the RSL SKC game had a real controversial moment, Bjorn. Did you know that? Did you know that SKC had a big blown handball call? RSL defender Justin Glad just put his hand up and just slapped the ball with his hand. And no call, no VAR, no penalty. And the game went on for the Kroata Deutsche Demir Kaila to score the winning goal. However, if they got that penalty, SKC could have very well been 1-0 up.
Yeah, and they would have won the West.
And then the LA Galaxy, they would have won the West. And the LA
Galaxy would have
into the playoffs as opposed to Real Salt Lake. So we had a little bit of a VAR fail. Is VAR perfect? 99999. VAR is perhaps imperfect. Yet the old thing, why didn't they use it? One of the great unsolved mysteries of MLS.
Why?
Why did they not use VAR to double check that handball moment, especially on a big game? Now, if we're up to me, I'm sick and tired of hearing the term clear and obvious. I don't want to hear that anymore because it's such a subjective term that people are treating like facts. I think VAR rules should be very simple. Any major moment involving red, yellow cards, and goals should be allowed to be checked, whether it's clear and obvious or not.
But they do check.
It should just be allowed to be checked.
They do check everything.
They do check like 90% of the time, and sometimes they don't.
But do they interfere?
Been a VAR guy be like, hey, double check that. They should be like, hey, double check that handball. There should be a VAR guy to be like, yo, double check that last handball moment. You know, and then he needs to stop. He needs to go take a look. I don't see the problem with that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why. I understand they're trying to keep it quick and efficient, but I think they've gotten so good at it that stuff is happening pretty fast in general.
Well, in the Bundesliga, a lot of the time, the ref will just accept the VAR. He'll just be like, "Oh, that was offside. Okay, I don't need to look at it," and then it's quicker. Whereas
and the officiating in the Bundesliga is pretty tight. It's not perfect, but overall it's pretty dang tight. Yeah.
Yeah,
and all comes from Köln, which is weird, which is funny to me. The entire
they just
all
have
VAR
everybody
comes from
in
one office in Köln.
Well, it's a relatively small country, I guess.
I guess that makes sense. Here in the States,
the cable,
they'll be like, hold on, I'm waiting. I know, the cable have to run. The Ethernet cable from Colorado to New York.
It's crazy. That can't be done.
It's like
but
lag.
From Köln to Munich, fine, no problem.
yeah. Here in the States, they'd be like, hold on, there's a minute of lag in my Wi-Fi here. We got to wait for the thing. No, absolutely. And then, so Colorado gets their bye. And then the Western matchups.
Yeah, we have the Portland Timbers hosting Minnesota. Sporting KC is hosting Vancouver. Seattle gets Real Salt Lake. And that's it. And then
are getting by. Now,
Colorado waits to see what happens.
Vancouver, again, look how said how New York Red Bulls is trash, goes to Canada and then does better. Mr. Brian White crushing it up in Vancouver.
Yeah, what did they not like about him?
Because they're a little how do I say, they are the opposite of this.
Richtig, genau. I'm the master, Butcher master.
They're not the master butcher methods because they keep getting rid of good players. They're like, you know what? You keep Brian White. We'll keep Tom Barlow, who will never score a goal in his professional career ever.
If you had asked me to put money on Vancouver making the playoffs this year, I would have declined. That is a real shock, I think.
Yeah, good for that. Overall, Vancouver has been kind of an underperforming franchise in general. I don't know if you've heard the great quotes from the coach. The coach is like, "Thank God there's a week off because we're plastered drunk and we're going to be hungover for days." He didn't say that exactly, but he said something like that, and I frickin' applaud it. I was like, man, more power. I'm glad they're partying up there in Vancouver. They deserve it. They deserve it because they're pretty.
That's the beauty of the playoffs, you know. Everybody starts at zero again.
All right, let's do some quick predictions. So let's start with the West. With Seattle and RSL, you got to give that one to Seattle, I think. SKC hosting Vancouver. Maybe you give that one to Vancouver. Let Vancouver ride. And with the Timbers hosting Minnesota, I would give that one to the Timbers, I think. Those are my predictions.
Those are your predictions?
Yeah.
I would pick SKC and Seattle to win. I would go with Minnesota actually over the Timbers.
So you got SKC, Minnesota, and Seattle, and I've got the others. I got Seattle, Vancouver, and Timbers. So one of us is going to be pretty right, but not both of us.
We'll see, yeah.
And then on the East, we've got, I think, New York Red Bulls and Philly. You know what? I'm gonna do this with my heart. I think New York Red Bulls gets a hard-fought 1-0 win. I think NYCFC. I think they're gonna handle Atlanta probably 2-1. And then we have Orlando City and Nashville. Right? I'm gonna give that one to Orlando City. I think
I'm gonna go home team 3-3. Philly
for all of them.
NYCFC, Nashville.
So Philly. So you and I said the same thing. We only overlap with one.
All right.
But it's MLS playoffs, and
anything is
good luck
possible.
Gambling on them. All right, cool. So you have anything left for decision day stuff?
I want to talk about Hani Mukhtar, the German.
Oh, of course.
The
Hani
German.
Mukhtar.
I mean, I don't think, if we're talking about Deutsch in aller Welt, Germans all over the world. I guess he's from the Hertha. He's from Berlin. He was in the Hertha system. Never really made their first team. Then did well in Denmark in Brøndby for a few years, and now in Nashville really has a case for being MVP. He has.
Now he's at Nashville. That's right.
Yes, I think he has 16 goals. Yeah, 16 goals, 12 assists.
Great free kick.
Yes,
there you are. We lost you for a minute.
Oh, yeah. Really? What'd you miss? Well, you won't know. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, we're a little over the place. I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I could hear you all
along.
Yeah.
So he scored a great free kick over the weekend. So what were he said 12? You were saying some numbers there, but I think we only
he's 16 goals. I think 12 assists. So really, really good numbers. I think in the end, Carlos Gil is going to win the MVP probably of the New England Revolution, since they've really ran away with the Supporters' Shield and are clearly the best team. And he's the best player on the best team, so he'll win MVP. But if you just look at the numbers, Hani Mukhtar really has a good case, and he's been very good. And how he goes, Nashville went this season. And
if Nashville win the MLS Cup, then maybe he'll win, because I think that's the other deciding factor of who wins. Because being a great player, like the same thing with Damir Kreilach, he's also an MVP candidate, definitely for Real Salt Lake. But whichever team ends up winning, that's just sort of the deciding X factor. Then I think leads.
But I think the MVP is only regular season, right? Isn't that? Don't they announce that before? I think so.
Probably the way MLS, just like how the Golden Boot race ends now, like playoff goals.
That's it. Playoff goals don't count.
Playoff goals do not count. But he with the 16 and 12 assists and 16 goals, that's a very Landon Donovan-like performance and the Landon Donovan MVP winner. He definitely will come in as an honorable mention in second over Carlos Gil. No, I 100% agree with that.
And and I think he hasn't gotten a lot of love. I think Nashville in general has just sort of been talked about as this sort of defensive juggernaut, but he has provided some magic this season. And it just goes to show that
it's amazing what they did as a second-year expansion team.
Yeah, very much so. And it goes to show that there is life after the Bundesliga. If you do not make it, you can still have a
sorry, I think we're cutting in and out a little bit here. Yeah, Nashville coming in as a second year. Nashville coming in as a second year expansion team. They got in the playoffs last year, I believe, and they got in the playoffs this year, and they're hosting. So they've had a very different experience than their friends up in Cincinnati, which fired all of their Dutch advisors and are getting rid of the whole Dutch thing. Because who'd have thunk it that Dutch advisement in soccer leads to losing? Only a couple Germans would understand that, but most people would not. Good, absolute good work from Mukhtar. Great honorable mention. I would love to touch on USA Mexico real quick, unless you have any other thoughts related to Decision Day in MLS.
Let's hear it. I think.
The roster came out. Say that again.
What is my audio is bad? No. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. That's the just pull it back the curtain a little bit. Here we have a COVID sort of virtual meeting, and sometimes internet kicks in and out, and then I think we have a little audio lag. So I apologize for listeners at home if we talk over each other sometimes. There's nothing I can do about it. Blame COVID. Blame the world. Don't blame us. So USA Mexico came out. Decent roster. The one big talking point, I'm not going to talk it, everyone's been talking it to death, is that John Brooks has been excluded, which I understand. And John Brooks said this great statement saying, my form has not been up to my standard. I will get called back in when I'm playing better. And that's very big words from a big man. And John Brooks honestly has kind of recovered his form. He's sort of back to his old habits slowly but surely. So, I imagine hopefully by the next camp he will be called back in. However, the one fallback to that is like, well, if John Brooks isn't called in, then why is Mark McKenzie called in? Mark McKenzie doesn't even play in Belgium anymore. He's played 2 out of his last 9 games for Ghent, a mid-level Belgian club. So it's like, well, if Mark McKenzie is included, it's like, how bad? Like, John Brooks isn't even that bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit of a double standard. And again, maybe this is my Red Bulls talking. Matt Miazga just never, ever gets a shout. I would much rather Matt Miazga be on that bench than Mark McKenzie, in my opinion. Matt Miazga was playing week in and week out with the La Liga club. It's just one of those things that, who knows, maybe there's a personal thing behind the scenes. Maybe Greg Berhalter positions his spot so specific that it goes between a starting defender and a reserve defender, have different standards, right? And John Brooks is only being considered as a starting defender, kind of like a Walker Zimmerman, whereas Mark McKenzie is in a cover spot where I guess he could have a little bit more margin of error because he's not expected to be starting any of the games. Your guess is as good as mine. But at the end of the day, that's one to look at. No Sargent because he's out of form. No Hoppy, I don't think, because he's also not playing. Right. There's only one number 9, and that is Ricardo Pepi. So hopefully he doesn't get injured during the two games.
Yeah, that's what I heard Greg say, that it's only 2 games, not 3 this time. So there can be everybody, can play all of the games or some. It's not rotation's not as big a factor this time. And he thinks Pepe can go both. And it's funny how he has become the cornerstone of the team at age 18. He's irreplaceable.
Well, he's been playing well for the U.S. His club form has, upped and down over the last few months. And
he could not
struggling with.
He could not have kept up the way he was going. I mean, he had an incredible run there for a second. Obviously, but
shouldn't you have a second 9 option, right? Shouldn't you have a second number 9 at least, just on the bench or something with minutes?
What, Giassi is not going to be there?
Giassi ain't there, man. I think Giassi's injured. But in my opinion, this is extra controversial, I guess. I would have loved for Josie to have been on that bench. He's scoring just for a few minutes.
I don't think that's controversial. I think he certainly should be in the conversation of people to bring in off the bench for sure.
Yeah, he's only 31. He's not like he's not like 35 or anything. I think the one thing is he locked in toxic.
His hamstrings are 55 and 47. No?
That's true, but his brain is 31, and that's what counts, you know. We got Christian Pulisic coming in, only playing a few minutes here and there, so who knows if he'll even start. He might just come off the bench. But all I know is a big game next Friday, and then Jamaica finally has their firepower. They have Leon Bailey and Antonio.
And Antonio.
I think of Aston Villa and West Ham respectively, right? I could be wrong about that. And who is in great form in England. We'll see if they can actually add some real firepower to the Jamaican national team. About time for them to get their full reinforcements. So that's not going to be such a sleepy game either. So those are two tough games. And, you know, my heart says USA will win 2-0. 2-0, my friends.
Wow.
My brain says there will probably be a tie or maybe a 1-0 win at best. But my heart says 2-0. So let's do it. Yep.
All right. On that note,
that's been this week in U.S. and German soccer. Please click subscribe or click on the bell notifications here on our YouTube channel. I also post clips throughout the week. And also, please, we're available in podcast forms. Listen to the podcast. Also, leave a review and rate us and tell your friends about us. We've been the Schnitzel Boys.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Stefan.
It's been a pleasure talking to you as well, Bjorn, and I'll see you after USA Mexico, where we preview the MLS playoffs. Tschüss, bis nächste.
Macht's gut.
Macht's gut.